All right, today's lesson is just a continuation of what we learned on Thursday. So let's just recap because this is the first step, which is important. Okay, you have to identify which statement goes with which inequality. So for the first question, I'm asking you which statement and or goes with these two inequalities. That's what I'm asking you. So when I see a less than or equal, that should represent an and statement. Sorry, an and statement. Okay. Some of you, I don't know where you saw this, were writing two statements, an and or per problem. I don't know where you saw that. You could either have an and or you can either have an or. Okay. So for less than will always be an and statement. For a greater, okay, will represent an or. Okay. So or goes with greater and goes with less than. Okay. So for example, here's first two problems. My first step is let me identify. This is an or, but can I solve this? Is equal to a negative. An absolute value represents what? Distance. So if it represents a distance, can distance ever be negative? No, right? So this is no solution, which basically all you have to do is tell me empty set. It doesn't have any solution in the set. No numbers in the set, so it's empty. And this is a symbol. So do you see here? See, some of you didn't write that. You solved it. And so therefore it's wrong. Okay, it starts with the negative. All I should see is empty set. No solution. You can't solve it. Okay? That's all you have to do. Show me this symbol, and I know that you understand, that you realize because it's equal to a negative, you cannot solve it. It is an empty set. Okay? So let's try some more problems. Okay? It doesn't equal to a negative. I'm good. This is a less than. So what I'm going to do is write an and. Okay? I'm going to write the first problem exactly how it's written. Then the second problem, I leave the left-hand side the same. I flip the symbol, and the 7 becomes negative. Now, some of you were doing a different step. That was in the step that I was teaching you. So that tells me that you were looking at the internet, and the internet was telling you to do that step. You have to realize you have to do what I'm teaching you. All you are doing, you leave the left-hand side the same. The first one stays the same. The second one you flip. This one will be positive. This one will be negative. Okay? So now we will solve for C. So I'm going to add 1. 2C is less than or equal to 8. I divide by 2. I get C is less than 4. Okay? Remember, it's an and. Okay? This will give me 2C is greater or equal to negative 6. Divide. I get C is greater or equal to negative 3. Now, because it's an and, I'm going to write C in the middle. The smaller number goes to the left. So this says C is greater or equal to negative 3, but less than or equal to 4. See that? I write this on the left-hand side, but I read it in terms of C. So now when I graph, put my 0 in the middle, negative 3, 4, close circle. And also, your circle should be the same. If it's closed, both are closed. If it's open, then they both are open. Okay, you can't have one or the other. So this would tell me everything in between. It says C is greater or equal to negative 3, so I go to the right. But C is less than or equal to 4, so I stop right there. Okay, so this is your graph. Okay, all right, let's do our next problem. Now, this is an example that you have not seen before, okay? So, is the absolute value by itself? See how this one, the absolute value was by itself? So, that means I'm able to split it up. This one is not by itself. It has a 2 in front of it, and this means multiplication. So, what's the opposite of multiplying? Division. So, I got to divide. You cannot distribute, okay? So, you divide, you get absolute value of x plus 4 greater than 2. Okay? So now I look at this as an or. I'm going to rewrite the first one the same way. And then this one, I will flip it and it becomes a -2. So I'm going to solve. What do I get? Okay, this is an or. So this is what I do. -2, remember, is closer to 0. 3, -4, -5, -6. They're both open circle. Now let me read it. X is greater than -2, so I got to go to the right. And then this one says X is less than -6. So here, I will go to the left. Okay? So remember, in or, for the most part, the graph will be opposite direction. Okay? Less than will be between. All right, let's do this one. Can I split this up from the beginning? No, right? Because you see this -3 is next to the absolute value. I gotta isolate this. So my first step is add 3. I get this. Okay, this should be a minus, okay? So now this is less than. I'm gonna write and. The first one will stay the same. The second one, the only thing I'm changing is the inequality, and the 8 becomes negative. Okay? So these are your 2 inequalities. So you will add 2. X is less than 10. And add 2. You get X is greater than -6. Right? Because this is an and, you're going to write X in the middle. Smaller number on the left, greater number should be on the right. So this tells you is everything in between -6 to 10. So on the number line, 0 is over here, 10, let's say, is here, -6 is over here, right? Okay. Everything in between. Okay. All right, last one. So number 6, the absolute value is by itself, so I just split it up. And what is this? Or. So this has a fraction. Okay, let's see who remembers. How do I get rid of a fraction? By multiplying by the denominator. What's the denominator? 2. So I'm going to multiply each side by 2. I get 16. Then I'm going to subtract 1. I get 3n is greater than 15. Divide. And I get n is greater than 5. Or, right? Now let's do the same thing. Multiply by 2. I get 3n plus 1 is less than -16. Subtract 1. 3n is less than -17. Okay? Divide, I get a fraction, that's okay. How many times does 3 go into 17? 5 times. And you got 2 that's left over. Okay? So what does this say basically? Here's 0. Let's say this is 5. Open circle, n is greater than 5. That means I'm going to the right. Let's say this is 5 2/3. Says n is less than, so I'm going to the left. All right? So this was just a continuation of what we learned on Thursday last week. You're doing the same steps. Identify what's and, what's or, okay? And write 2 inequalities, and then you show me the steps and you graph.